Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a new episode of The World Today, where we are going to discuss, as usual, plenty of headlines published on national and international websites. And we are going to focus on our local and regional arenas. Before we start, let me first welcome our dear guest live here in the studio, Professor Dr. Ali Masoud, Professor of Economics and the Dean of the School of Politics and Economics at Bani Suef University. Sir, you are going to be our political analyst in this episode, and we are going to start immediately as we do have a lot of headlines. Permit me to start with Al Ahram Online.
Okay, my pleasure.
From Al Ahram Online we read, Egypt deals with Trump, Clinton on equal footing. Presidency spokesperson. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met with two U.S. presidential candidates in New York on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. Egypt deals with U.S. presidential candidates Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton on equal footing. Presidency spokesperson Ambassador Ala Youssef said on Thursday, adding in his statement that Youssef responded to questions on whether Egypt favors particular candidate in the U.S. presidential race. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met with the two candidates in New York on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. Sir, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi just returned in the early hours of Friday from the 5-day official visit to New York, where he attended the UN General Assembly session number 71. And on the sidelines of the meetings, he made a lot of meetings with world leaders, with leaders of organizations from all over the world, and he also had a lot of meetings. But regarding this issue in specific, how do you see the current way the whole world is witnessing our foreign relations, and in specific with the United States?
Okay, first of all, if you go back a couple of years ago, and when you talk about where the Egyptian foreign policy were to be there, actually we were in that not good situation. Now, at the hard work of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we really established a very good attitude for ourselves in the international arena. Actually, in this visit, actually, we went beyond sending messages or beyond selling our stories. Yes, the first summit that the President Sisi attended in 2014. Yes, he was selling the point that we get rid of the terror group and we are establishing our new Egypt under, a very good regime, whatever. And this is a democratic regime. We start some steps to be fully democratic in the future, but now actually we got beyond that. We say, well, we are Egyptians, and this is our vision, that it can have impact in our country. It has impact in the Arab world. It has impact in Africa, and also it has somehow impact in the whole world in some issue that President Sisi was talking about. Regarding the issue that you talked about, that Egypt stands in equal space between Clinton and the other candidate, Trump. Actually, I believe this is a very, very smart way to send the message for Americans that this is the country should behave. You should not intervene in international issues, in international affairs of another country, whatever it is. So instead of saying it in direct way, we can say it in a very smart way, that this is the way we should do it. Actually, this is the way I understand it. I understand it that way, that we are sending message, well, look, we are not intervening in your business, in your internal affairs.
How do you see in the first place the keenness of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton to meet with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi while being in America?
Well, first of all, Egypt is still the center of the Middle East and the center of Arab world. No way that you can pass any agenda or keep any interest or defend any interest without actually Egypt has a part of it. Excluding Egypt, some.
It's impossible.
It is completely impossible.
Imagine that.
I'm not talking about historical issues. I'm talking even about
in
all times, and in the near future is going to be even more strength in Egypt, inshallah. So they understand that. When United States supported the terror group while they were ruling Egypt, what happened?
The Terrorist Brotherhood Organization.
Exactly. This is what happened. Well, the Egyptian people came out in the street and supported their army, and when the army responded to its people, exactly, and we get rid of them. So the American plans in Iraq, in Syria, in Libya, in other nations, in Yemen, and also I believe it was planning to happen in Egypt, is completely broke down.
Sure.
What they call it, the new Middle East, completely agenda now, not anymore.
But sir, let me take it from one of your words when it comes to Egypt's key role when it comes to the Middle East, to Africa. I mean, our fate or our destiny is to be Arab, Islamic, African, Mediterranean country, and in the center of the world, as you've kindly said. The Egyptian leadership, the Egyptian diplomacy is really doing great. How do you see what I'm going to say? I mean, in a very short period of time, for example, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi was in China and India while our defense minister was in Russia for a military deal. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi was in the UN to attend the UN General Assembly and to have a lot of meetings, climate change, security and peace in Africa, to meet with NGOs, stuff like that. And in the very same time, a high-ranking Egyptian delegation headed by Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry was in Venezuela to attend the NAM, or the Non-Alignment Movement, in this Margarita Caribbean island. How do you see those movements in the very same time? I mean, it was parallel.
Well, actually, this is, as you said before in your early words, that Egypt now and Egypt diplomacy and Egypt leadership actually is taking huge steps, and it's very strong steps in order to both Egypt and Egyptian vision, actually, and Egyptian wars everywhere in the world. Why? Because not only because we deserve that, no, because we are the key of the whole region. So we still the key of the key of the whole region. Yes, we suffer from some economic problems. Yes, and serious problems. Yes, we are working in them to do it, and the government is doing its best, succeeding some, not succeeding others, but still the potential of Egypt to lead the region again is completely here.
Our national security is part and parcel of the national security of the whole region, and when it comes to Africa, we are the gate to Africa, if you want to add on this.
Yes, first of all, regarding to our national security, look at the way President Sisi were talking about Syria. He said two phrases, very strong phrases, the strongest phrases I heard for long years, when he said, well, people who think that the military actions or solution is going to solve the conflict in Israel, they are losers.
Amen.
And I believe he is meant by that United States. And when he said that people who believe that they believe that this Syria is going to be like Afghanistan, where the terrorism groups are going, they are not in reality. They don't know so much about reality. And this is sending a clear message that we are in Syria, we are really in Syria, we will be involving in Syria, whatever it takes.
And to echo what President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi said in front of the whole world in the United States, in the United Nations headquarters in New York, he said it before. He is not going to permit any Egyptian to be a refugee. And he said it in front of the whole world in the UN headquarters that Egypt did not deal with the refugees as people to be just gathered in camps or stuff like that. We do have 5 million refugees who are here. Their kids are in our schools. They are working. They are living among Egyptians as as Egyptians, taking all the rights of Egyptians, and you would see people, Syrians, Iraqis, you will never be able to differentiate between them and the Egyptian citizens in our streets. Let me take you, sir, to the Daily News, where we continue to read, Egyptian British foreign ministers discuss resumption of Sharm flights. The security cooperation between Egyptian and the British authorities is moving in the right direction to resume UK flights to the Egyptian resort Sharm el-Sheikh. The UK Foreign Secretary told his Egyptian counterpart, according to the Egyptian Foreign Ministry. Also on the sidelines of the UN meetings, our top diplomat Sameh Shukri met with a lot of his counterparts. Yesterday it was New Zealand and Hungarian counterpart, and today it was with his British counterpart, the British Foreign Minister. Sir, how do you see the trust which Egypt gained a day after the other regarding our procedures taking for security and safety of the tourists they are coming, and also, as you've kindly mentioned, the diplomatic efforts or activities?
Yes, actually, look at, we didn't have any terror acts in Sharm el-Sheikh or in any main tourism resort in Egypt since so long time. So exactly.
Yeah.
So this is a clear message, not just by words. This is by action. That Egypt is safe, Sharm el-Sheikh is safe. Yes, don't forget that the British actually, in some days, they just were in they have very fast move to take some steps that hurting the Egypt tourism industry, and it was meant actually to hurt the Egyptian economy. I cannot understand why a country like the UK can actually put that in its agenda. I believe after the following all the plan of the new Middle East and all of that, this force and this international power start to reorganize their ideas and their way to talk to the Egyptian people and the Egyptian government and the Egyptian political leadership. Well, it has also the economic part of it. Now, Sharm el-Sheikh is safe, completely safe. We didn't have anything bad happens to our guests.
And if we are going to compare, with all my respect, to Turkey or to Lebanon, they are not safer.
Exactly.
So if you are going to choose on the ground or in deeds, not in words, as you've kindly said, sir, Egypt is safer.
Yes, but we have a problem in this issue that we don't market our assets very well. So really, we really have to work on that.
We need to do more marketing and more propaganda.
Exactly.
And it's our role to be accurate.
Actually, we failed to do it. We have been failed to do it.
Tomorrow is another day, and I think that now the case is going to be different, and we are going to move to the winter. It's the high season of our tourism, and especially Christmas days. So we are expecting a lot to come in the near future, inshallah.
Sure.
Let me take you, dear viewers, to the Gulf today, where American President Barack Obama tells Netanyahu of concerns on settlements. Well, President Barack Obama told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu he had concerns about the Israeli illegal settlement expansion in the occupied West Bank and hoped the United States could still help to achieve Israeli-Palestinian peace. This comes at a time that the United States had a $38 billion military assistance agreement with the Israeli state. I don't know if this is a little bit contradictory or no, but let me focus here on this illegal settlement issue. And it was a battle yesterday between Benjamin Netanyahu and between Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. As Mahmoud Abbas, first he asked the UK to apologize for the Balfour in 1917 declaration, which made Palestine a homeland for the Jews, and he said that the illegal construction of more settlements is destroying every chance of peace, while Netanyahu said that it's not that, it's the announcement of all the Palestinians that they agree to have an Israeli state. And it was another surprise that Netanyahu invited Abbas to address people in Knesset. These are political gains or wasting time or what?
Okay, First of all, Egypt actually gave as a gift to God around 120,000 of its best soldiers and officers and citizens in the sake of the from the sake of Palestine.
Yes.
I really about the concerns of Mr. Obama. That's this is just ugly. When you talk about people have been killed, people are washed out of their lands, and people just occupying new lands and put in settlements, and you have concerns. On the other way, you are providing the military by, they give them like very, very advanced technology in military, especially in the air, in the air combat areas, and you still concerned regarding what happened actually between Benjamin Netanyahu and Mahmoud Abbas. Well, I don't care about words. I really care about actions. Palestine is not going to be anywhere unless Palestinians get unified together.
Yes.
Right now, they are fighting each other. They are unfortunately, they separated the pieces of land. I cannot say even the control. They just Israel's actually so without really good actions to get Palestinians unified, then we talk about how can we play game with Israel.
Why, sir, I'm asking this question in specific now? Because we should not ignore that France is trying to do something, and there is a conference which should be made in November, before the end of the year, regarding the Middle East peace process. Netanyahu is going to say that I'm ready to negotiate. I invited the Palestinian leader to be in Knesset, and in return I will be in the Palestinian Legislative Council. And this "and" is yours,
and we get into the starting point. The just circling around every time you have steps.
What should the Arabs do before the conference of France?
Well, first of all, the key point here is how can you unify Palestinians. Without unification and get Palestinians be unified under one leadership, forget about it. Whatever we are doing is just...
should we have mediators? Should Egypt intervene here?
For sure.
Should the Arab League, for example, because I think the Arab League under Ahmed Abu al-Ghait, and especially with those meetings on the ministerial level which took place about 2 weeks ago, it was here in just before Eid al-Adha or the bigger Bahram. The ministers from all the Arab states were here, and they had a lot of recommendations and of statements released. Do you think that the Arab League is going to play a big role?
I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think so. What I really think that Egypt is really supporting so much Palestinians up until now, even after what Hamas did in Sinai and all the messes he did it. But we were raised even from we were kids that Palestine, it is our extension. So we understand. So our institutions, intelligence service in Egypt and the army and other stuffs and the foreign affairs ministry actually working very hard to get Palestinians not unified together. Unfortunately,
regarding what you have said, sir, it was a clear message when many of the meetings of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, he was sitting in between General Khalid Fawzi, the director of the Egyptian Intelligence Agency, and our top diplomat, Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri.
Exactly.
Well, sir, let's move to Syria. And from the Washington Post we read, Russia continue to seek to revive the Syria ceasefire. With the prospects plummeting to revive an all but dead Syria ceasefire, the United States and Russia have agreed to another round of talks to keep hopes alive after a continuous 2.5-hour meeting with colleagues in New York. Secretary of State John Kerry and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said they would meet again Friday in a bid to find a way forward. Is there a way forward?
Yes, sure. Because really, in Syria now, it is completely big mess. Syria now is like international war land now. This is what is all these big powers, and they actually fighting each other in an indirect way in the land of Syria. Don't forget that in one day, Egypt and Syria was one nation.
Yep.
We don't forget that until now we say we have the second army and the third army. Why? Because the first army is the Syrian army. For this reason, President Fattah al-Sisi said it very clearly,
yes,
that we are not going to allow the terror groups to run Syria. Yes, we are completely with the view that Bashar al-Assad is not going to be in the future of Syria. But we don't forget that he is a part. He is the part of the solution now.
Yes.
He is the part of the solution. You cannot just take him out, because if you take him out, the alternative is going to be Iraq and Libya. But in the future, let Syrians actually decide who will rule them.
This
yes,
was
exactly.
My point of view.
Exactly.
Let the Syrians
choose. Exactly. But how can people make their choice under terror groups' actions?
How do you differentiate in the first place, sir, between the so-called peaceful or moderate opposition and the armed groups?
There is no opposition in Syria. What is going on is a terror groups. This is what I believe in it. Syrians never had guns in their hands before.
I also do. And I think the lesson now is very clear. I mean, Iraq is not better after Saddam. Libya is not better after Muammar Gaddafi. What Ali Abdullah Saleh is doing in Yemen is really strange. And till the moment, I cannot understand how I can cooperate with militias to ruin my country. This is the game of politics, which again and again, I'll never be able to understand. Let's move to our western gate, to Libya. From Al Khalij Times, we read 13 dead in clashes with Daesh in Libya's Sirte. 10 militants and 3 pro-government fighters died in clashes around the last positions of the Daesh militant group in the Libyan coastal city of Sirte. Sir, are you optimistic or pessimistic about the story in Libya? Because the story in Libya is a little bit different with Khalifa Qasim Haftar, Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar, who I think is doing a great job in Libya. And if it is going to take time, or also with the unification of Libya, whether Faiz Sarraj, Aqila Saleh, and Khalifa Haftar. Of course, Faiz Sarraj, the Prime Minister designate, Aqila Saleh is the head of the Libyan Parliament, and Khalifa Haftar, the head of the Libyan Army.
Okay. Well, actually, from the first beginning, our stance were with the Libyan army, the national army that actually keep the whole country unified. And so we were supporting the Libyan army, and we will support it in the future, and we will do it again and again and again. Why? It is our national security issues. It is completely our national security issues.
And it's completely our role as the big sis. Egypt is always going to be the big sis for all the Arab world.
But now it is even more critical than a big sis. Now it is threatening direct our national security. It is not we only helping Libyans for them, not for them and for us. Because if Libya get in danger more than that, in miss more than that, if Haftar get defeated, for instance, and so on, Egypt is going to be really under the big threat, the national security.
And our leadership is fully aware of what you're saying.
Definitely.
Well, by this we come to the end of this episode of The World Today. Before we go, let me once again thank our dear guest live here in the studio, Professor Dr. Ali Masoud, Professor of Economics and the Dean of the School of Politics and Economics, Bani Suef University. Thank you very much for being with us, sir, and have a very good afternoon.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
By this, we come to the end of this episode. Till we meet again, same time on Nile TV International with another crew. Many thanks for watching. This was Nurmina Abdurrahman.